The African Deep Dive podcast is brought to you by the African Technology Policy Studies Network. This podcast explores how science, technology, and innovation can drive sustainable development and global inclusion in Africa.
All right, everyone, let's dive right in. Today, we're taking a close look at university-led ecosystems in Kenya, specifically how they're driving innovation and entrepreneurship there.
Right.
We've got a great source for this.
Yeah.
A Technopolicy Brief from the African Technology Policy Studies Network,
Okay.
ATPS, for those in the know.
Yeah.
And they partnered with Open University and Riara University
Oh, wow.
to give us a really interesting perspective on this whole thing.
So, kick things off, I think it's important to set the stage here.
Okay.
Kenya, they have this goal of becoming a middle-income nation by 2030.
That's ambitious.
It is. It's hugely ambitious, and they're really banking on industrialization as the way to get there.
Yeah.
And that's where universities come in.
Oh, okay.
They're seen as absolutely crucial for making this whole thing happen.
Okay.
You know.
And I have to admit, when I first heard this term, university-led ecosystem,
Yeah.
I had a very different picture in mind.
Well, like,
I don't know, I was picturing like labs with overgrown ferns.
Right.
That's right.
like very static, but it's actually way more dynamic than that, right?
Absolutely. Much more dynamic.
Yeah.
It's all about breaking down those walls
Okay.
between universities, research institutions,
Okay.
businesses, even the government, getting everybody together.
So it's a real collaborative
It is.
kind of environment.
Yeah, the brief actually describes it as an environment to spur innovation from diverse stakeholders.
Oh, that's good. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But, okay, that sounds great on paper. But are Kenyan universities actually walking the walk when it comes to innovation? You know, I mean, we all know universities can be a bit traditional.
That stereotype, yeah.
Yeah,
A little bit.
A little bit.
But
yeah.
this brief highlights a whole bunch of initiatives
Okay.
that show Kenyan universities are actually already doing some pretty impressive stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're talking business incubators,
Okay.
university-owned enterprises, even renting out assets to generate income.
Oh, wow. It's not just about dusty textbooks anymore.
So they're really getting into the business of
Yeah,
business.
exactly.
That's pretty entrepreneurial. Renting out assets, I like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm looking at the brief here.
Yeah.
It does mention that a lot of these initiatives are still pretty small scale.
Right.
Right. And faculty involvement, it seems like, maybe it's lagging a bit.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you think that's a cultural thing?
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
You know, maybe some professors see business as being like outside the realm of academia.
Yeah.
It's historically there has been this separation
Yeah.
between the academic world and the business world.
Right.
Bridging that gap is going to be, I think, essential
Yeah.
for these ecosystems to reach their full potential.
Okay, so how do they do that?
Well, one way the brief suggests is pushing for these more hands-on,
Okay.
applied entrepreneurship programs.
Less theory, more.
Less theory, more practice.
Building businesses.
Yes.
I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just about the economic side of things either.
Okay.
The brief emphasizes, it says, a truly successful
Yeah.
and sustainable ecosystem. It needs to promote the social and ethical
Okay.
dimensions of enterprise, too.
So it's like a triple bottom line approach.
Exactly.
You know, people, planet, profit.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, though, if universities themselves might need to kind of evolve their
Yeah.
identities a bit, right?
Yeah.
If they're going to be leading these ecosystems,
Okay.
maybe they need to embrace
Yeah.
being entrepreneurial as part of who they are. You know what I mean?
You're spot on. You're spot on.
Yeah.
The brief actually talks about how universities, they often cling to
Yeah.
these very specific identities.
Oh, right.
You know,
Yeah.
like Science and Technology University or Management University.
Okay.
And to really drive innovation, they might need to become more fluid,
Okay.
more adaptable.
So instead of saying, like, this is who we are, it's more like, this is what we can do.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
There's even an example in the brief
Right, yeah.
of a university that wants to evolve into an institution for industrialization and employment creation through entrepreneurship and innovation.
It's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, but it shows they're thinking big
They are.
and moving beyond those traditional labels.
I like it. bold vision.
Yeah.
But speaking of big challenges,
Yeah.
the brief also points out
Uh-huh.
some weak links, I think it says,
Yeah.
between universities, industry, and government.
Right.
And if these ecosystems are all about collaboration,
Right.
what's getting in the way?
Well, it's complex. It's a very complex issue.
Yeah.
Part of it is a lack of clearly defined goals.
Okay.
You know, everyone's on board with collaboration
In theory.
in theory, but
Yeah.
then when it comes to the nitty-gritty, it's not always clear what everyone's working toward.
Yeah. So it's like, let's collaborate.
Yes, exactly.
But then when it comes to, like, what are we actually doing?
Right.
Cricket?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then you have the trust issues.
Oh, okay.
Universities, businesses, and the government, they often have different priorities, different ways of operating.
Yeah.
Building trust and understanding across those divides, that's going to be key.
It's like trying to, I don't know, bake a cake with ingredients that don't quite go together.
Right, right.
You know?
Yeah, I like that.
Or a chef and a baker and a food critic who all think they know best.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you have this tendency for isolated initiatives.
Oh, okay.
So one university might have this great partnership with a local business,
Yeah.
but it's not connected to anything bigger.
Right.
And joining those dots,
Okay.
creating a more cohesive system, that's essential.
Okay, so how do we fix this?
Well, luckily, the brief offers some solutions.
Okay. Yeah.
It lays out 3 main policy recommendations.
All right, let's hear them.
First, formalizing intersectoral ecosystems.
Okay.
Second, developing entrepreneurial identities.
Okay.
And third, strengthening the national innovation system.
Big to-do list.
It's a lot to unpack.
Okay, so let's start with the first one.
Okay.
Formalizing those ecosystems. What does that even mean?
Basically, it's about moving beyond these informal handshake agreements
Okay.
and creating a solid legal framework for these partnerships.
So like really setting things in stone.
Exactly. Imagine a system where universities, businesses, and the government, they're legally bound to work together.
Wow.
Towards these shared economic goals.
So it's going from like a casual dating app to like a legally binding marriage.
That's a great analogy.
Right. Raises the stakes. Increases the commitment.
Absolutely.
Okay, I like it. But how do you develop those entrepreneurial identities?
Right.
Did you mention it? The second point.
Yes. Well, it goes beyond just throwing money at the problem.
Okay.
The brief emphasizes the need for training, mentoring, and community building.
Okay.
So it's about creating an environment where entrepreneurial thinking is valued and nurtured.
So it's not just about like, teaching people how to write a business plan.
Right.
It's about fostering that.
It's about the mindset.
That entrepreneurial spirit.
Exactly, the entrepreneurial spirit.
Build it.
And finally, strengthening the national innovation system.
Okay.
That's all about making sure there's a clear pathway
Yeah.
for research to make it from the lab to the marketplace.
So taking those brilliant ideas and turning them into real-world products and solutions.
Precisely.
All right, those are 3 great recommendations. I'm sure there's no challenges in making those happen.
Of course not.
Smooth sailing all the way.
Yeah, a walk in the park.
Perfect. But,
In reality, I'm sure.
there's always challenges.
There's some bumps along the road.
There are.
So that's what we're going to dive into next.
That's what we'll dive into next.
You're listening to the African Deep Dive podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, suggestions, and comments with us via our social media handles or email. Thank you for tuning in, and stay with us for more insightful conversations.
All right, cliffhanger. I'm ready to unpack those challenges.
Okay, great.
In part 2.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've said that these university-led ecosystems have huge potential.
Yeah.
But you just hinted, there are some serious challenges too.
Yeah. Yeah. What really stood out to me in this brief was the whole discussion of professional identity and how it plays out in these ecosystems.
Okay, break that down a little bit.
Okay.
What exactly does professional identity mean in this context?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
People working in universities.
Yeah.
People working in businesses. Government.
Yeah.
They all have their own, like, unique ways of seeing the world,
Right.
Their own values, their own ideas about what success looks like.
And the brief calls this their professional identity.
Okay.
And when these identities clash,
Yeah.
Yeah. It can create some serious friction within the ecosystem.
So it's like trying to mix oil and water.
Exactly.
They just don't naturally
They don't blend
together.
Yeah.
Right.
And the brief actually uses this analogy of puzzle pieces
Oh, okay.
that weren't really meant to fit together.
Right. Okay.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
They also argue that a truly sustainable ecosystem,
Okay.
it needs to embrace these multiple identities.
Okay. So not trying to force everyone in.
Exactly. It's not about forcing everyone into the same mold.
Okay.
It's about finding ways to leverage those differences.
To create something even better.
Stronger and more innovative.
More innovative. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But how do you actually go about doing that?
Right.
How do you get these different puzzle pieces
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
fit together and create that complete picture?
The brief suggests a few key strategies.
Okay.
First of all, clear and consistent communication.
Okay.
Super important.
Okay.
Everyone needs to understand the overall goals
Mm-hmm.
of the ecosystem
Okay.
and how their role contributes to that bigger picture.
So you're not just working in a silo.
Exactly.
You see how your piece fits in.
You're all working
For
together.
the whole.
Yeah.
Okay. Second,
Yeah.
clearly defined roles and responsibilities.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. That can help to minimize confusion.
Yeah, avoid those turf wars.
Exactly. Avoid the turf wars. Exactly.
Okay.
And finally, investing in professional development opportunities.
Okay.
That can really help bridge those knowledge and skills gaps
Oh, that's good. Okay.
between different sectors.
So it's about building bridges, not walls,
Exactly. Building bridges. I love that.
between these different worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about connection.
It makes me think about like the role of leadership in all of this. Oh, absolutely. You need someone who can
That champion this vision.
champion it
Yeah.
and inspire people to actually work together.
You need a strong leader
Yeah.
to make it all happen.
And the brief talks about this.
The brief does, it emphasizes
Like
the
for-
need for strong leadership at both the university level
Mm-hmm.
and the national level.
So top down.
You need leaders who can see the big picture,
Yeah.
navigate those tricky identity issues,
Right.
advocate for resources, policies, all of that,
All the stuff that needs to happen
all the stuff that needs to happen
to make these ecosystems thrive.
to make it work.
Okay, so leadership is key.
Absolutely.
What else stood out to you?
Well,
In terms of like practical recommendations?
yeah, one thing the brief kept coming back to
Mm.
was the importance of a robust
Okay.
national innovation system.
Right.
It argues that a strong NIS, this is essential
Okay.
for translating research into
All right.
real-world solutions.
All right. That's ultimately what drives
Yeah.
economic growth.
Exactly. You can have all the research in the world,
Right.
but if it just stays in the lab,
Yeah.
it's not doing anybody any good.
It's not having that impact.
Exactly.
So that makes sense. But the brief also points out like some weaknesses
Right.
in Kenya's current NIS,
Yes.
especially when it comes to connecting universities
Mhm.
and industries.
Right.
Like what's the missing piece there?
Well, it boils down to communication,
Okay.
trust, and incentives,
Okay.
right? Right now, there's often this disconnect
Mm-hmm.
between what universities are researching
Right.
and what businesses actually need.
Right.
So improving communication channels,
Okay.
fostering trust through consistent partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
creating incentives,
Right.
like tax breaks
Okay.
for businesses that work with universities, that kind of thing.
Okay, so it's about bringing those two worlds
Yeah.
closer together.
Closer together, not just physically,
Not just physical.
but also in terms of like their goals and priorities.
Their goals, their priorities, their values, even
Right.
getting them aligned.
Aligning, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One of the most interesting recommendations in this brief, I think,
Yeah.
is to actually promote
Uh-huh.
a more entrepreneurial culture
Okay.
within universities themselves.
Oh, interesting.
Imagine
Yeah.
if academics were encouraged to think about the commercial potential of their research from the very beginning.
Oh, so from the get-go.
Yeah, like when they're designing their research projects.
Okay.
Thinking about, okay, how could this actually be applied in the real world?
That would be a huge shift.
It would be a huge shift.
It's almost like asking universities to become more like businesses themselves.
In a way, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But how do you actually like foster that spirit?
Well, the brief suggests practical things
Okay.
like training programs,
Okay.
mentorship opportunities,
Mhm.
and funding mechanisms
Okay.
that are specifically designed
Okay.
to support the commercialization of university research.
So it's about creating that supportive environment
Exactly.
where researchers feel empowered to take their ideas.
Yeah, take those ideas and run with them.
And turn them into something real.
Make them a reality.
And it's not just about the professors either, right?
Oh, absolutely not. We need to be equipping students.
Yeah, the next generation.
The next generation of innovators with these skills and this mindset.
Yeah, get them involved early.
Get them involved early. Give them hands-on experience. Connect them with mentors in the business world.
Right.
And let them see firsthand how their ideas can have that real-world impact.
Okay, speaking of real-world impact, what about the role of government in all this?
Right.
It can't all be on the university's shoulders.
It can't all be on the universities.
Right.
The brief is very clear about this.
Okay.
The government policies and initiatives, they're essential for creating this fertile ground, for these ecosystems to actually grow.
So what kind of things?
We're talking tax incentives.
Okay.
For businesses that collaborate with universities, increased funding for research and development,
Right.
streamlined regulations
Oh, okay.
that make it easier to start and grow businesses,
So making it easier for everyone to get involved.
creating that level playing field
Yeah, the level playing field.
where innovation can thrive.
Okay.
It's about removing those barriers
Yeah.
and making it easier for universities, businesses, entrepreneurs to work together and bring those game-changing ideas to life.
Okay.
And it's not just about national level policies either.
Okay.
The brief also emphasizes the importance of engaging with county governments,
Oh, interesting.
which play a crucial role in local economic development.
Right, so it's like a
It's multi-layered.
multi-layered approach, connecting national vision
Yes,
with like the local action.
exactly. You need that alignment across different levels of government to create a truly cohesive and supportive ecosystem.
Okay, so we've got strong leadership,
Yeah.
a robust national innovation system, supportive policy environment. What else is needed to make this vision a reality?
Well, one thing that's often overlooked is the role of.
So we've got strong leadership, a robust national innovation system, a supportive policy environment. What else is needed to make this vision a reality?
Well, one thing that's often overlooked is the role of funding.
Oh, right. Yeah, you can have all the brilliant minds, the innovative ideas, but without funding, they're not going anywhere.
Exactly. And the brief acknowledges this.
Got it.
It says funding is often a major bottleneck.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it suggests getting creative,
Okay.
exploring different funding models.
Like what kind of things are we talking about?
Public-private partnerships,
Okay.
venture capital, even crowdfunding.
Oh, wow. So we're really thinking outside that traditional
Yeah,
grant writing box?
exactly.
I've heard a lot of buzz about impact investing lately. Is that something the brief touches on?
It does.
Oh, okay, great.
It actually talks about impact investors
Okay.
and how they're really interesting because they're looking for both financial returns
Okay.
and social or environmental impact.
Just like a win-win.
It is a win-win.
Investors get a return and society benefits
Exactly.
from innovative solutions
I know.
to pressing problems.
And it aligns perfectly with that whole shared value approach
Right.
we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's not just about making profits. It's
Yeah.
about making a difference.
Exactly. And it seems like there's a growing appetite for this kind of investment,
That's good.
which is great news
Yeah.
for these ecosystems.
Okay, so funding is in place.
Yeah.
We've checked that box.
Hmm.
What else? What's the final piece of the puzzle here?
Well, even with the funding piece in place,
Yeah.
there's one more crucial element we haven't talked about yet.
Oh, okay. What's that?
The community.
Ah, right. It's easy to get caught up in the policy. The funding side of things.
All the technical stuff.
All the technical stuff.
But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
these ecosystems are all about people.
People. Yeah, for sure.
And that's where the role of universities
Mm-hmm.
becomes particularly interesting.
Okay. How so?
Well, universities, by their very nature,
Yeah.
they're deeply embedded in their community.
Right. They're not just off in some ivory tower.
Exactly.
Somewhere.
They have a responsibility
Mm.
to engage with local stakeholders,
Okay.
understand their needs,
Yeah.
contribute to the well-being of their surroundings.
So it's not just about churning out research papers
Yeah.
or patents.
Mhm.
It's about using that knowledge and those
Yeah.
resources to make a real difference.
A real difference in people's lives.
Exactly. Okay. I like that.
And the brief highlights some really inspiring examples
Oh, yeah.
of Kenyan universities doing just that.
Okay. Like what?
Partnering with local businesses,
Okay.
addressing social challenges, promoting sustainable development.
So they're really getting out there
They're getting out there.
and making things happen.
They're not just stuck in the ivory tower.
Yeah. That's really cool to see.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the biggest takeaway for our listener today?
I think the key message here is that building successful university-led ecosystems, it's a complex, long-term endeavor.
For sure.
It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to adapt and learn along the way.
Yeah, there's going to be bumps in the road.
There will be bumps.
But it's a journey worth taking.
Absolutely. The potential rewards are enormous.
Okay, so what are those rewards?
By fostering innovation, creating jobs, addressing societal challenges, these ecosystems can transform communities
Wow.
and contribute to a brighter future for Kenya.
That's an inspiring vision.
It is.
It sounds like Kenya is well on its way to making it a reality.
Yeah, they're making great strides.
So to our listeners,
Yes.
we encourage you to stay curious,
Stay engaged.
stay engaged, and maybe even get involved
Yeah.
in shaping this exciting future.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe you'll be the one to spark the next big innovation.
that's a great point.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.